Lovely Friday evening to everybody out there. It's Josh here with On the Wrong Lead, joined by Andrew Champagne for another episode of Drank and Champagne. Andrew, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. We took a couple of weeks off after the Breeders' Cup. We needed to decompress a little bit. In my case, I needed to get over a chest cold that just would not go away. Thankfully, I've finally beaten that thing. But yeah, lots going on this month. For those who do not know, I started a new job a couple of weeks ago that I enjoy very, very much. Very happy about that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. And before we go much further, we need to address the elephant in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, Josh, I motion that for one episode and one episode only, because I'm not going to ask you to do anything that's just inhumane to either of us. For one episode, no strays towards Mark Capitan after his 16th place finish in the BCBC. I know I'm literally the worst, but hey, you need to give credit where credit is due. Mark, stellar job, buddy.
Oh, that's one. Where's the ding? Do I have a ding? I don't have a ding anymore. I
I
got rid of the
said
ding.
stellar job.
So, okay, that's an inside joke. Mark has got a couple, there's a couple of Markisms or Capitanisms, if you will. One of them is stellar.
I didn't know
And
that.
whenever he says the word stellar in our group chat, occasionally our buddy Gary will notate that as a one because he's counting how many times he says stellar in the day.
Well,
So
I didn't know that, and that was not intended as a jab. On a serious note, let's try this again now for the third time. Mark, great job. Or is that too much of an inside joke?
there you go. No, yeah, Mark did an amazing job on the um, BCBC. He put out a bunch of content, a bunch of short videos. He even put out a recap video that he quickly got demonetized because he just decided to put inappropriate wording in it. So thank you for that, Mark. But yeah, no, he did a great job, and he just happened to run into a historic scoring version of the BCBC. Big shout out to my buddy Kevin Strom, who finished second. I'm gonna go ahead and hit him with the clap. And you know, he he just fired away like no, like I would just not have the wherewithal, the just ability to do it. I mean, you know. Sean Borman did a couple of interviews afterwards, and I think I'm going to be as diplomatic and nice about. I'm gonna be diplomatic about this. I'm nice, maybe it's not the right word, but diplomatic. He used some words that I think could be contrived as kind of dismissive of the way other people played by shoving all in multiple times, and even I think at the end, and this is gonna sound silly because like it's a large sum of money, right? Like, don't get me wrong, but like he basically conserved $100,000, and only played like I think that he only played with like 10, 15, 20 grand or something. I forgot the exact plays. You can find them out there, but he talked about how he conserved $100,000, and wasn't gonna risk it, and you know other people are just shoving hundreds of thousands of dollars all in, and like the ability, like the guy who won the tournament, a guy who is a pretty accomplished tournament player of his own, a very serious player, and he's just like, I yeah I these guys were just throwing this money around willy nilly trying to win this thing, like, and like it even made him like, I'm gonna say might made him a little uncomfortable, like that large, like going all in for that much. So, just is just like I think it's really just a testament to just like those high level tournament plays. If you want to win, I mean, you at multiple times are gonna have to be willing to just go all in. It's like poker tournaments, except that poker, right? They're fake chips. Like you can't walk home with those chips and walk pocket that money. Whereas in live money you can. So, um, you know, trying to wrap my head around that large sum is really really tough. I play the Hawthorne tournament pretty regularly. I think I might be skipping this year's at day after Thanksgiving because I'm going to Vegas the week after, and I think in order to conserve bankroll, it's probably not a good idea to play, $1,300 in live money horse racing contest right before I go to Vegas, or maybe I win. I don't know, but I've had to make 400, 500, $600, or I no, I think the largest win bet I've made is $400, and we've talked about this. It was at Golden Gate Fields. It was a horse that uh, basically lost by a nostril and probably would have won me the contest if he would have won. But um, just I mean, wagering that amount of money, which is to many people, including myself, a large sum of money. I was nervous firing $200, $400 win bets. Now I cannot imagine that on a scale of 10. So, um, big congrats to everyone who did really well. Big congrats to Mark. Big congrats to Kevin. It's just yeah, it's nuts. Like I that level of um just that level of cojones to do all that. I don't know. It's a
Careful, you
different
might
level.
demonetize this video.
I can't. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to hit a button there. But yeah. So, but big congrats to Mark, especially. I know he did a recap as well with our buddy Chase over on the Notorious OTB, so you can check that out as well. And I guess before we get into this late pick four, I got two things that we should probably bring up. One, yes, we understand there is a late pick six carryover, but Josh has got to get to bed because I have a beer festival to get to tomorrow, and I got to
And
leave
also,
early.
by the way, let's be realistic. We know our audience. Our audience, much like the two of us, is going to go after the pick six carryover at Aqueduct. And like us, probably going to be out after one or two legs. What do you do after you've already handicapped the sequence? You play the late pick four. Here we are, people.
That's called Calebing it, which is
Oh,
obviously
that's a
you
verb?
play.
Okay.
That's one of the
I
many.
always thought Calebing it was, having a makeup artist, having a lighting crew behind you at all times, and just looking fabulous at every point.
The many definitions of Calebing things. We'll have to do like we'll have to do an episode just on that. We'll have to get Caleb in here, and one of the best examples of Calebing something is when you hit four legs in the pick five and you miss the fifth leg, and it's a 3-5 favorite that was probably a clear single, but he tried to beat. And meanwhile, he's got 50-1 shots in there that he hit. That's that's our boy Caleb. But I digress. Secondly, I do have to mention that if you haven't already, uh, make sure you check out You've Got to Be Shot Tinning Me. We
What
did
a
a
great
new
title. What a great title.
my buddy Matt Carlson and I, we did a breakdown of the late pick three at Shatin. We talked a little bit of Shatin, just in general, Hong Kong racing. As we continue, I think we're going to drop, little tidbits here and there on, the class system, other stuff. There's a lot to kind of wrap your head around. But, and maybe that might be something we turn into video content at some point, but it's been an idea that we've been kicking around for a long time. So glad to, at a certain point, we were talking and I was like, look, let's just record this and let's see what happens. And he was very nervous, but he did great. And, I think it's gonna be fun doing that. And hopefully sooner rather than later, once they let us Americans in some of the other pools, we'll do, maybe we'll do more horizontal focus stuff, but we'll do pick threes for now because that's the biggest horizontal that the Americans have access to. But yeah, well, more to come with that. But yeah, we got the late pick four we're gonna talk about here, and yeah, we're gonna start it off here. Race 7, the Key Sense State Bred fillies going 6 furlongs here, and Andrew, I want to like the first thing you said to me when you saw both of our tickets was we are both going to try to beat this favorite. and we are doing it in different ways and not using the same horses. So why don't you break it down? Because you have a single in here. You're gonna single the five, Tricky Temper here for Jeremiah Englehart and Irad Ortiz Jr. Talk to me about this five.
Sure. So Tricky Temper is a horse that really turned heads first time out at Saratoga. The running line does not do it justice. This horse got flat left at the gate in that off the turf event, circled most of the field, one going away. Very impressive looking performance. Got just a 59 Beyer speed figure, but 74 speed figure for those of you using Briz. That's a little bit better, of course. So they tried the horse next time out in a stakes race, a rich one on one of the New York bred Showcase Day programs, and she did not get her desired trip on that particular occasion. John Velasquez is usually very good at placing horses where they need to be in order to have their best chances at winning. So this was perplexing because Tricky Temper showed no early speed first time out, duels through some very fast early fractions in the Seeking the Ante, finishes fourth, beaten 9 lengths. She comes back in the matron. They tried once again to get this horse on the turf, but because Mother Nature hates New York and likes forcing races off the turf there,
Hmm.
they wound up running that race on the main track. And I thought she ran pretty well that day, Josh. She rallied from sixth, was second beaten 3 lengths by a nice horse, and was well clear of that day's third place finisher. They finally got this horse on turf in the Chelsea Flower at Aqueduct against Open Company, going 2 turns. Going 2 turns for the first time is not an easy thing to do, and she did not take to that route of ground at all whatsoever. I am more than willing to draw a line through that race. Maybe she bounced off of a nice effort two back. Maybe she's just a 1 turn horse, or maybe they thought this horse was a turf horse all along, and it turned out she's a dirt horse. Well, she shows up here against state breds and gets an absolutely massive rider switch from Katie Davis to a Rod Ortiz Jr., and she's not going to be favored. I think Tricky Temper is a very intriguing horse here, not just in the late pick four, but also in that pick six carryover, especially because I think number three, Kara's Time, is a very vulnerable favorite. And I'm going to sound a lot like Josh when I say this because Kara's Time is a great story. Mitchell Friedman does not train a lot of horses. He has 3 winners all year long. 2 of those wins have come with this horse. It's a great story, but I see a horse that over the last 2 starts has gotten dream trips and dream setups. That race two back in the slop, well, this horse is out of a Macho Uno mare. One of the best mud influences in the game is Macho Uno. This horse bred up and down for a wet track, got it, got a dream trip, and capitalized. They stretched this horse out to a mile last time out, ran an okay second. I'm not going to say the horse ran poorly, but look at that 6 furlong time. 114 flat. They were walking. There's some speed signed on in this race, and I think Kara's Time is going to have a very difficult time up front. I much prefer Tricky Temper. I think Tricky Temper is the most likely winner of this particular race, and she's a single for me. I really hope we get that 4-1 morning line price come post time because I think she's shown she's a very talented filly.
Yeah, speaking of the pace, I have the optics pulled up on different screen. Let me pull it up here.
Oh, don't tell me you're one of those people with 9,000 tabs.
Uh, kind of, but actually, you know what? I will just download the PDF real quick. Um, Here we go, and hit that button. There we go. Um, and this was kind of an interesting little pace scenario here because you have the three Karis Time as a pretty small Q1 circle, looks to be a lone Q1 circle, but you have the 6 horse, who is one of the horses I am going to use. You have the 6 horse here, Big Prankster, or sorry, not Big Prankster. I'm looking at the wrong race. The 6 Solo Shot here, coming up from Finger Lakes, and or coming down from Finger Lakes, and has shown a lot of speed. And it looks like maybe the 6 horses, because he's a little bit lower on the plot, looks more like uh, one that is probably going to at least duel for the lead, but maybe is not going to. Maybe the 3 might head him a little bit, kind of going at the turn. But the 6 looks like he's got a little bit better of a kick. That's how I'm just reading the plot. But to me, it looks like the 3 and the 6 are going to duel a little bit. And if that happens, it does look like the 6 might be the one that kind of stays on and holds on. Um, you know, George Weaver this year has just been absolutely incredible with 2-year-olds. So that's kind of just another kind of feather in this horse's cap here. Gets Manny Franco here. So I thought the 6th solo shot made a ton of sense. I think does if I remember correctly, does probably need to improve speed figure wise. Kind of regressed a little bit in that Finger Lakes win, and like I said, it was a wire to wire win. But I'm gonna take a shot here with the 6 with George Weaver. I don't know. He just can't miss with 2-year-olds this year. But just outside of the 6, the 7, Ashburn Alley here.
You're
Tom,
really endearing yourself to all the baseball fans out there using these 2 horses.
what's Ashburn Alley?
Richie Ashburn was a Hall of Fame outfielder for the Philadelphia Phillies. And Solo Shot, by the way, is partially owned by Alex Bregman of the cheating Houston Astros.
So I guess we boo.
Yes, we
Okay.
boo. We absolutely boo. And for those of you looking on the YouTube channel, first of all, thank you. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We are Angels fans in this dojo. Yes, we're pretty pathetic.
But yeah, we I think the 6 and the 7 make a ton of sense here. And like I said, I'm trying to beat this 3. And the 7, if you look on the optics plot, kind of looks like the horse that if the 3 and the 6 kind of duel, he looks like the one who's going to sit just off of them, and kind of get first run on them. So your 5 also plots out very very well. I was a little bit more concerned with all the switching of surfaces, and I'm a little bit kind of confused what they really are trying to do with this horse. So I just think the 6 and the 7 campaigned um a little bit more logically, I guess, and maybe are very well met in this spot. Whereas I think the 5, it might just be kind of like a kitchen sink thing, like whatever, like going long on the turf didn't work, let's cut him back again. But 6 and 7, I think 6 is probably going to be on the lead, might duel, and I think 7 is going to sit just off there a little bit. And shout out to Mark. His favorite angle of all time is JJ up for Tom Morley. So I guess maybe he's rubbing off on me a little bit, but uh, hopefully I can still maybe avoid chalk a little bit. So 6 and 7 here for me. Andrew, you're on the 5. Anything else you want to talk about in this race?
Not really. I think we covered most of the logical alternatives to Kara's Time, who, look, would Kara's Time winning stun me? No. But I don't think she should be the heavy favorite that she's going to be in this spot. This is a tough race for the level with some pretty classy 2-year-old fillies signed on. I mean, you look at Solo Shot, who would probably be my second choice in here. She's 2 for 2 with a total margin of victory of 9 3/4 lengths and has never trailed. Ashburn Alley ran very well first time out, albeit in the slop. Not quite sure if this is a horse that can replicate that over faster going, but I don't think any horse in here should be the kind of favorite that Kara's Time is going to be. And I think there are opportunities to go against that one. I think there's a fair amount of pace signed on here. And I think Tricky Temper is going to have every chance to pick up the pieces, provided she's right. I think she is. I think she's doing what she wants to do now. And I think if the Tricky Temper we saw first time out and when she ran second in the Matron 2-back shows up in this spot, she's going to be tough.
All right. Let's move on to race 8. We got a maiden race here, going to mile 16th on the turf. And this was I think in the pick six, this might be um, one of the tougher races here. I think you and I kind of um, we landed on one similar horse here, but and I guess we'll just talk about it real quick, and that's the eight spend a lot here for Chad Brown and Irad Ortiz Jr. First time starter for Chad, which Chad always he has these horses cranked up ready to go, and you look at this breeding. And this just looks like a horse that's going to want to go two turns on the turf. More than ready, and a scat daddy mare. This is just turf over turf. So obviously, I think Spend a Lot's going to be in here. Very well met, and I think that she's going to be tough in this spot. But going back to our boy Mark Capitan, we got a merging of the philosophies here, right? We got the Mark side, which is the Tom Morley and JJ angle here with the five Magic Eight Ball, but we got the three cherry horse here. We got the E, we got the eight, got three cherries here. Magic Eight Ball. This is a horse that they tried to get on the turf last time out, got washed off, ran a pretty ran second, you know, by 10 lengths. But oftentimes with these slop races, you see stuff like that happen. Usually, when you see that huge of a difference between runners, also could be indicative of a bias. Maybe there was a closer bias that day. I don't know. You have to kind of go back and look through the track profile. But when I see a horse between first and second, there's that big of a gap. I mean, that the winner of that race just ran off and won for fun. So, um, but they're gonna get this horse back on turf, which is the surface they've been trying to get it on. Um, Not necessarily bred for the turf, but I'm gonna trust Tom Morley and his intuition on this versus mine, looking at the breeding, and just think that this might be one that he's going to get out there and maybe he just goes and he hasn't turned back. Now optics plot here is tough. We don't have a lot of data. We got five first time starters in here. None of them have gone a route distance here on the turf. Not a lot to go by here. I really do think the eight's going to be very, very strong here, but I think the five here with the connections with this horse being one that they've been trying to get on the turf, finally getting on the turf. I think this is an interesting horse here, to maybe get a little bit of a price or maybe an underneath type. So I got eight as my lone A, and I'm going to use a little bit of the five Magic Eight Ball.
Josh, with regard to Magic 8 Ball, outlook not so good. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, we talked a little bit about Spend a Lot, and if this pedigree looks familiar, there's a reason for it. She is by more than ready out of a scat daddy mare named Siempre Mia. She is a full sister to a horse named Consumer Spending, who is a multiple graded stakes winner going two turns on the turf. She can run. There's every reason to believe that Spend a Lot can run as well. You see Chad Brown, you see Arad Ortiz Jr. I'll take the under on 7-2. I think this horse is going to be in the 2-1, 5-2 range simply because of the pedigree and the connections. I need to use this horse. There is another that I need to consider, though, and that's the horse directly to that one's outside. I'm going to butcher this. I apologize if the connections are watching. Waskisu is what I am going to go with. Waskisu has run twice, both at Saratoga on the dirt, going 6 furlongs. But if you look at the pedigree, you see by American Pharoah out of a Bernardini mare. American Pharoah may very well be the best turf horse Bob Baffert ever trained, judging by his offspring. American Pharoah is a fantastic turf sire. You see Bernardini on the bottom. Bernardinis can go on either surface, but they want a lot of ground. I see Belmont training. His horses get better with experience. I see Junior Alvarado keeping them out. And I look back at the running lines and I see a horse that's kept very good company. That race July 30th at Saratoga has aged very well. Alley's Beach is a very nice horse. Life Talk is a very nice horse. The race last time out in the mud at Saratoga, when this horse dueled through fractions of 21 and 4 and 44 and 3, she ran second behind a horse named Emery, who's pretty darn good. I think Waskisu is going to be doing what she wants to do, going onto the turf, has an experience edge over some of these horses, and I do think you're going to get the morning line price on a horse doing what she wants to do. There are a couple of other horses that I would advise you to throw into your exotics at a little bit of a price. One of them is another Bill Mott trainee. That's number 2, Dancing Dean, who goes to the Bill Mott barn after a clunker first time out for Horacio De Paz when that barn was ice cold at Saratoga. Could not buy a winner for a month to 6 weeks. But Dancing Dean is kin to 5 horses. They're all winners. It would not be the weirdest thing in the world if Dancing Dean had some talent. The other one that I would throw in at a bit of a price is number 6, Past Tense, who debuted running third in the race that Magic 8 Ball exits. Tony Dutro's first time starters usually need a race to get going. The works since then have been pretty sharp. I see a bullet on November 2nd over at Belmont going 4 furlongs and 48 and 2. I see the damn Retro, who was a very nice turf horse. She was a stakes place 2-year-old on the turf. I think this is another instance of a horse doing what it wants to do. But the 2 horses that, for a budget's sake, I'm going to use in the late pick 4 are Spend a Lot and Waskisu. If you've got a little bit of a bigger budget than I do, those would be the other 2 horses that I would throw in at a little bit of a price. But I look at Spend a Lot and I see a horse that's going to get bet down pretty considerably off that 7-2 morning line for a couple of different reasons.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next leg here. Race 9.
Good luck, everybody.
Another the Aqueduct Turf Sprint Championship here. Andrew, how many horses you got here?
I have 8. And I have 8 because if I hit the all button, horse racing Twitter and the ticket police would come after me saying, "How dare you use the all button?"
Ticket police is incoming.
There we go. I was able to whittle it down from 12 horses to 8 horses. Yeah. There's not going to be a heavy favorite in this particular race. My friend Tom Amello has a term for these races. He calls them chaos races because there's no clear favorite. The money is going to be going every which way possible. You see 5-2 on Our Shot. I think that's going to drift up a little bit. Our Shot is a very nice horse, but there are a lot of very nice horses in this field, including one that he lost to 2 starts ago. I think Our Shot is going to be 3-1, 7-2. I think there are going to be a bunch of horses in the 5-1, 6-1, 7-1 range. I think this may very well be a race where you look and go, how did that horse pay $14? And with that in mind, I've got a spread here. The horse numbers that I am using, and I am not going to spend a lot of time on this because I got to tell you, I don't have a strong opinion here. I am using numbers 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, and 12. Yes, folks, 8 deep in a 12-horse field. The one that is probably going to be an overlay based off of the past form is number 10, Run Curtis Run, who back as a 2-year-old did enough to run in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. Didn't do a lot of running that day, but did make the field. Came back, did well as a 3-year-old, won stakes and a couple of other graded stakes races behind horses like Big Invasion, No Balls, and One Timer. Then last November, ran a clunker at Aqueduct and went to the sidelines for 11 months. The comeback effort was not bad. Didn't get a ton of pace to run at for 6 furlongs, but did show some life late and was 4th beaten 2 lengths. If this horse gets back to the form that we saw in 2022, isn't 20-1 a pretty considerable overlay, Josh? Needed to at least use this horse and put it on the ticket.
Yeah, and you have your 8 horses in this race, and actually the 3 horses I'm using in this spot we have in common. You already did talk about the 4 hour shot in here. Um, the other two horses I kind of looked at, the 6, Nothing Better, as well as the 8, Witty. Um,
By
and
the
what?
way, can I just really quickly, God bless you, Chris Griffin. You have a race with wit and witty. Good luck, my friend.
um, So Witty is coming in here off of two nice wins, obviously in the Mid Atlantic, going 5 and 5.5. The Ben's Cat, named after the horse Ben's Cat, who just kept on winning, I believe, this same race at Pimlico over and over and over again, and they found
Among
his name.
others, there were a couple of races he won over and over and over and over again. Really cool horse.
So Witty's coming in here, and this is once again, this is just that well meant angle that Mister El Capitan likes to harp on sometimes, um, and when JJ gets up for one of these smaller barns, you kind of got to pay attention a little bit because he seems to be the guy that when these smaller barns have a live one, he seems to be the guy that they call. I don't know. It might be more of a Saratoga thing where it happens, where you get these Finger Lake shippers and he hops on, but that kind of just interested me a little bit. Um, Looking at the optics plot, um, the 8 looks like he's going to be kind of closing in, and I think coming from off the pace, he might just have a cleaner trip. I think a couple of horses that you mentioned already, like the 11th Thin White Duke, looks like he might get a nice clean trip, closing into this. But and obviously the 4 hour shot looks to plot out pretty well in here. Some of the other horses you like, the 1 plots out pretty decent on the standard plot, but hasn't really uh, run. I don't think has run a turf sprint as of yet in Witt's
Yeah,
career.
Witt
So
was a turf miler last year, and that was where he did most of his damage. They're really shortening him up here. This, I believe, is his first start around one turn on turf. But if you think Witt can't get the distance, I'll remind you this is a horse that has won 2 Grade 3 events going short on the dirt. He won the Sanford as a 2 year old, he won the Bayshore as a 3 year old. I don't think the distance is what gets him beat. What scares me a little bit, though, is the fact that he's a closer on the rail in a short race, may very well need a fair bit to go right.
yeah, and the 6 Nothing Better is the other horse I like in this race. Dylan Davis aboard here for Jorge Duarte, and that race last time out. Today's Flavor, who won that race, has since come back, run and won another race. So kind of leaving a key race here, is stepping up in class. But this horse has danced some classy races. I mean, ran in the Jaipur earlier this year, ran fifth by 2 1/4 lengths, so didn't necessarily embarrass himself. And ran in the Wolf Hill. That one, he went out favored, and was I don't really know what happened in that race. I remember watching that race. There was something. I think the horse got shuffled back. I remember this was one I watched because I thought with Sai aboard he was going to send, and when he didn't get the lead, it was just kind of it was a little perplexing for me a little bit. But last time out, looks like the tactics were back. They broke well, and they just went straight to the lead. And obviously has run here at this Aqueduct surface before, and likes the Aqueduct surface. Is 2-1-0 and 4 starts. So kind of a horse for course angle. I think this is a horse that's going to be on the engine. And it doesn't seem to matter who rides this horse because this horse is one with a variety of different riders. So I thought Nothing Better made a ton of sense here. Obviously, we already talked about the 4 hour shot, so I'm just 468 here.
So you mentioned Nothing Better being a horse for course. Josh, Nothing Better actually holds the track record going 6 furlongs on the turf at Aqueduct. He set that record back in April of this year. The turf course was playing very, very, very fast that day for sure. But you go 6 furlongs in 106 and 4. You're absolutely flying. My concern with Nothing Better is I'm wondering if he's a different horse on Lasix than off of Lasix. This being a stakes race, he's not on Lasix. And I see those two clunkers back in the summer. Maybe he just didn't get the lead in the race at Monmouth. Maybe the Jaipur was just a little bit too tough. Or maybe he needs Lasix. But the horse is on my ticket. And if you like him, you get a horse that has run this distance and surface faster than any other horse in the history of thoroughbred racing, and he's not going to be favored. So, this I think would be a horse I'd have an issue with if he was going to be the 2-1, 5-2 favorite. At 6-1 on the morning line, though, that's certainly fair if you really like him.
All right. And did you want to talk about any of your harem of horses you have in this race?
Harem of horses. That's a good word. No, this race, this is a dartboard race for me. I went 8 deep in a 12 horse field. I don't have a lot in the way of a strong opinion. My strongest opinion is that this race ought to be graded because this is a very, very good field.
I will say, if Sosua Summer happens to draw in, which I know is going to need a lot of help because I think, yeah, the second on the AE list, um, that might be a sneaky play here because really, if you cross the line through that last race, I mean, this horse would be would be short in this race. I think the last race was what was a bit of a clunker, but you know, some those Saratoga races are great. And maybe people think, okay, it's just a Saratoga type horse, but I think coming off the layoff might be an interesting one, but obviously is going to need help to get in here.
Yeah, and you mentioned thinking that, oh, Saratoga. Yes, this horse has 3 wins. They're all at Saratoga going 5.5 furlongs. This horse has run well going 5 furlongs in the past. The seasonal debut at Gulfstream was a very good race. Did run an okay second on June 9th at Belmont, but he was supposed to win that race and just didn't. I think 6 furlongs may very well be just a little bit too long for Sosua Summer. Having said that, when they get back to Saratoga in July, that's a horse that I am almost certainly going to be touting in one of these things behind me. That's called foreshadowing, kids. If you know, you know.
All right. So we have I was going to say the no, but this is the ultimate race,
Yes, it
not the
is.
penultimate, the
It is
ultimate
the
race.
ultimate starter allowance going 6 furlongs on Dirt at Aqueduct.
And we both went three wide here. We do have a mutual horse in the five. She's awesome. 7-2 on the morning line. Linda Rice and Jose Ortiz. Linda first after the claim. I feel like we've seen this story before.
A lot.
Um, so I think I don't know what. Why don't you talk to me a little bit about the five?
Sure. So I looked at the five. I looked at the race in general. Initially, when I saw She's Awesome in the form, I said, okay, Linda Rice first off the claim, wire to wire last time out. This horse is going to get bet. It's not like the last out race was any great shakes. But then I look at the rest of the field. This is not a good group for the level. This is not a level of starter allowance horses that I would consider hard knocking. These are former claimers that are getting protected in this particular spot. And I think She's Awesome is in career best form after a little bit of a layoff that she had earlier this year. She came back at Parks, broke the maiden, got shipped to Aqueduct, ran second, and then won in a couple of 40,000 non winners of 2 life races. This is a class jump, but first time Linda Rice, yeah, we've seen this before. I need to have this horse on the ticket. Now, what I did notice in this particular race are a lot of horses that, Josh, I would imagine you'd be rushing to the windows to bet next time out when they all go back into individualized claiming races because there's a lot of cheap speed signed on here. With that in mind, I wanted mid range prices that have shown they can close a little bit. And I landed on 2 others in the form of number 7 Spun Special and number 8 Maraviglioso. Spun Special debuted in the summer of 2022 at Saratoga and exited an absolute key race, Grand Love was very impressive that day. Rarify ran second and came back to win. They've had high hopes for this one for quite a while. As a 2 year old, it didn't look like it was going to pan out, but she sort of found her form late in her 3 year old campaign. She graduated last time out in an off the turf race, goes for the first time against winners, but I see a horse that can settle, that can make one run, and I see Javier Castellano staying aboard when he almost certainly had some options. And he does so for a very small outfit. Leah Giamatti, a very good trainer that just doesn't have the head count of a lot of trainers on the circuit. But Spun Special, I think, is live second off the brief layoff. And also, Maraviglioso, I think, is live as well. This is a horse that has shown an ability to close. Last time out was second in a 12-5 claiming event. But if you cross out the two back effort against First Level Allowance Company at Saratoga, where this horse was just in way over her head, she looks considerably better. I see a horse making her 14th start of the season, and a horse that, generally speaking, runs about the same race every time out. If they go really fast early on, I think Maraviglioso has a chance to come pick up the pieces at a very nice number. She has not won in quite a while, but I do see a horse that has shown she can pass others late. That is not a common trait in this field, which again, I think is a weak one for the level. Would it shock me if She's Awesome wound up making it two in a row? First off the claim for Linda Rice? Not at all whatsoever. But I'll need to use Spun Special and Maraviglioso as well, just in case the race falls apart late.
Yeah, I did look at those two horses a little bit. I think you make some really good points. I think my if I remember correctly, my friend PJ, I think his racing outfit uses Leah Giamatti. The his big horse right now is, I think it's called Ocean's Reserve. It's a nice little
Yep.
7 furlong dirt horse, and yeah, he says nothing but great things about her. So, um, but yeah, I'm with you on the five, and I went a little bit different places here. The six, Shaman Princess, um, broke her maiden going 6 furlongs on the turf last time out at Aqueduct, and is coming back to the dirt, which a little questionable why they would kind of run this horse back on the dirt after breaking its maiden, but they started this horse off with 5 straight dirt races. So I'm thinking that they think the end goal is that this is a dirt horse. Just was able to break its maiden, maybe just was happened to find his friends in that last one, and is coming into this spot. Obviously, it's a protected spot, and maybe this is playing the condition book. Who knows? But I think Shaman Princess makes a bit of sense in here. I think she has shown a bit of speed both on the dirt and the turf. So I think this might be one that is going to be part of the pace along with the five. She's awesome. And the other horse I used was drawn a little bit more to the inside. The three, Leadership Ability, for Charlie Baker here, and you get Dylan Davis. Charlie Baker claimed this one off of Chad last time out in a maiden claimer 40,000 that was washed off the turf on the dirt, and won at a very, very short price and won by 6 lengths. Very impressive looking win. And is coming back here off that maiden win. And while that figure might look a little slow, it was also in the mud, which I know Laoban on top, definitely mud influence. But I really think that this might be one that once they get onto a fast surface, let's see what this one can do. 8-1 on the morning line. Obviously, optics really, really liked that last run. Gave it a B, which has just a nice clean trip. Horse showed ability. Finished well. So, and the three kind of looks like is going to be is this Q3, which looks like going to be forwardly placed. And like I said, the speed figures look a little weird, but we also got to take into account, hey, like it was a muddy track. We're back on a fast surface here. Let's see what happens. It's mud is really just another surface you got to account for completely. So I thought the three is kind of just kind of zagging a little bit, lightly raced horse in the spot where you do have a lot of horses that took a while to break their maiden, have a bunch of runs in here. Sometimes just going with the lightly raced horse here, first off the claim, new trainer. Maybe you get a fresh face in here and maybe wins a second in a row. So um, I'm 3, 5, 6 here. And yeah, anything else you want to talk about in this race before we just kind of review our ticket?
Sure. I'm very happy you brought up leadership ability. That is the horse I would throw in if there are any scratches elsewhere in the sequence. I wasn't sure what to make of that race out of the Wilson chute. The Wilson chute is its own beast. Some horses really like it, some horses really hate it. Some horse players really hate it. I'm pointing to myself right now. Yes, she had things all her own way. It looks like a race you're supposed to play against coming out of it. But if you look at that race, you see some italics. You see that the second place horse came back to win. You see that the third place horse came back to win. And if you go back to the debut, way, way back in September of last year, you see that this horse was less than 4 lengths behind a next out winner. I think there is some ability here, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if leadership ability has the ability to win two in a row. She's the last one that I threw out, and I will likely be playing some saver tickets maybe with that one in some doubles, some pick threes, that sort of stuff. And if there are any scratches off of my ticket, which we'll review in just a minute, that would be the one that I would throw in on the end.
Yeah, so let's put up your ticket here. You got a $24 play here for 50 cents. You got the 5 with the 8, 9 with the 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12
Good job.
with 5, 7, 8. 24 bucks, late pick 4 here. Um I didn't really structure mine. I'm sure if I play this, it's not going to be this ticket. It'll be structured a little bit differently, but I have 6, 7 with 5, 8 with 4, 6, 8 with 3, 5, 6. That's an $18 base for base, and yeah, I'm sure these are going to be the horses that I really key around in the pick six as well, and hopefully I become a thousandaire tomorrow when this race goes off. Andrew, anything else you want to talk about before we sign off here?
Good luck to those of you that are playing this pick six carryover. It is not an easy sequence. You're looking at a $108,000 carryover over 3 days. You're probably going to bet 300,000 or so into that. It's going to be a nice pool. So good luck to you if you're playing. But I got to tell you, looking at this, would I be stunned if it carries again? No. I think there are some very wide open races. I think there are some pretty big fields too. It only is going to take one or two bombs to potentially make this carry for yet another day. And all of a sudden, you're into Sunday with a really big carryover. So, best of luck if you're playing. I will be looking to subsidize my upcoming trip to Las Vegas by hitting the late pick 4. So, we'll see how that goes. I'll be flying in on Wednesday of next week. Thank you very much for that. Flying in on Wednesday of next week, and hopefully the damage caused by the F1 race will be minimal. Very happy we're staying off of the strip this time around. That was an unplanned genius move on our part. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, expect a full recap on that once I get back.
Yeah, and good luck to anybody who is out in Vegas for the F1 race. I really did kind of want to go, but they priced me out at the beginning, and once the prices dropped, I was over it. So good luck to all the manhole covers out there on the strip, and hopefully they stay in place. And we will catch you guys later.